Hey guys, welcome back to AFK Journey. In today's video, we have a first of what I'll probably aim to do, maybe weekly, maybe bi-weekly, sort of podcast episodes where we get other people in the game, in the space, to discuss the state of the game, anything new that's coming and stuff like that. This episode is going to be a general, just state of the game, how we feel about it, general discussion, no real guidelines on what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about like the season and our thoughts in general, and it can go anywhere we want. Now, the three guests we have on for this one, I'll let them introduce themselves in a sec, but we got Danger Grey, we got Rek, and we got Zebo. We did have Barry as well, but he had an emergency that had to go sort out, so I'll get him on another time. Let's start off with introductions. Let everyone know who you guys are, where they can find you. I'll have links in the description and the pinned comment to all these guys' stuff. We'll kick it off with Danger Grey.
What's up, guys? It's Danger Grey from Analytica. I am the GM of Analytica, co-GM, along with my brilliant and beautiful partner, Season, as well as a leading free-to-play player. I just got my first Paragon on PTR and make content all about lore, really. It's not about the free-to-play and it's not about the endgame stuff. It's about all of that. So that's me. That's what I do. I don't know. I don't want to take up a lot of time.
Too easy. Once again, I'll leave all the links in the description. Rek, your turn, man.
What is up, guys? Rek is here. I'm mostly doing a lot of summoning stuff, a lot of fun stuff, trying to do my best, doing a lot of summons and trying to get lucky with Stargaze stuff, which sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. You will see when you enter my channel.
Nice. And Zebo, finally.
Hello guys, this is Zebo. So I do all the endgame stuff. You guys probably know me before already. So yeah, my channel is Zebo Gaming, so you guys can search me on YouTube. That's it.
Too easy. Yeah, so once again, if you guys have any topics that you want us to cover, any people you want me to bring on in the future or anything like that, just leave it all in the comments and we can get into it. But the first thing I want to jump into with you guys is how you think the season was implemented. Obviously, it was like a new type of system for those that have played AFK Arena. It's kind of the kind of thing we'd never seen, where you basically levels reset and you start from scratch. So I just want to get your general feels about how you thought it went, and then we'll go through any thoughts you have on how they could improve it maybe for future seasons and stuff like that. We'll kick it off with you, Zebo.
I think personally for me it's the late game-ish content pushing stuff, because I mentioned to Vulcan just now, right? So for the later stuff, when you do all the content pushing, there's actually only one com, which is the Smoky com, and that's super time consuming. Like it takes up so much time to test, to retry, and then play the rounds, and each round is so long. I think it's very unfriendly to people with very little time. I think that's something that they probably should address, because I don't know whether or not it's like a team issue, or is it like a coding issue? like I think there's some bug with Smokey's damage, right? He shouldn't be doing that much damage.
Yeah.
So so that's the crazy part, and I think it's very unfriendly to the community as a whole, because the game is called AFK Journey, but we are spending more time to push the stage than anything else, which is just crazy. So that's I'll say like my first concern for this.
Yeah, I think, and like I mentioned to you earlier, I think Smokey definitely seems to be doing disproportionate damage. It's meant to be capped at 200% of his attack, so in 10 seconds he's doing 2,000% of his attack. It just feels like he's doing ridiculously more than that, and it doesn't look like it is getting capped, so it stays fixed at a percentage-based damage. And so for those that aren't up to this point, like what happens is the only unit that can keep up damage enough to actually clear stages is Smokey with his third ultimate and his exclusive equipment. So the whole game is around manually playing stages, getting enemies positioned into his ring so that he can then kill them. And that for people who, and often this is whales it affects as well, who are people who often spend money because they don't have as much time, let's say, and then they have to then spend the money, and they're also spending a ridiculous amount of time trying to manually stages and get it to work. So I think it's an awkward situation, because I do think there's something not right with Smokey, but if they fix Smokey so that your wall starts earlier and you go, okay, I just can't clear these stages because there is no strategy for me to burst through these, that's good in general, because then people just hit the wall, and it's like, because you're always going to hit a wall. But on the flip side, then it becomes, how long am I going to be stuck now if they fix Smokey and Smokey no longer does as much damage because you've pushed beyond what a conventional team can do? Rek, do you have any thoughts on that?
In general, like, I think the moment you would now change Smokey, you're right, I think people would be stuck for quite some time. But I think what has to be considered is that we gain a ton of power in this game just from AFKing. The amount of power that you gain every single day is, I think, higher than in any other game I have seen yet. Like, just leveling up a hero a few level changes so much, actually. It's quite astonishing to me. So I'm not sure how long they would be stuck, like at the moment for quite a bit, but I think if you wait for like 1 or 2 weeks, then they could continue, which is an awkward situation for sure. But, well, I think the question then is, how entertaining is it if you have like one day where basically no setup can clear it at the resonance level that you are, and then one day later, you have like 3 different kinds of setups that can clear it, and 2 days later, it's like easily clearable by most setups. So it's like, in that sense, it's a bit weird, I think, if you consider how little AFK loot actually changes by clearing, let's say, 5-6 stages. So
Yeah,
I think
sure.
that is really my concern about it.
That's a really good observation. As for the Smokey thing, just to at least address that before I move to anything else, I think that there's all different kinds of ways that you could say that the amount of damage that Smokey is doing is unusual. It doesn't seem like it is what the character has been doing, nor what people, maybe what they think it should be doing. Like, there's a lot of different ways to look at Smokey. I don't think that we should take into consideration, though, that idea that people, like you said, Vulcan, about whales, they spend a lot of money, so they don't want to have to be able to spend that time. I think we should be really careful about saying that the idea that playing the game in a manual way to make something do even better than it can automatically is in any way broken. I think that like as an inherent assumption is just backwards. I think that we need to be really careful to stay away from that from the idea that by actually playing the game in some way to improve your score even more, that there's something inherently wrong there. I just completely you get what I'm saying. It's just that premise.
Yeah, no,
So,
I completely understand that. Yep.
Right, but I think there's plenty of reasons to maybe look at what he's doing. I also think the fact that you have to wait until his third time out does, in my mind, balance that skill quite a bit more than maybe people are.
Yeah,
considering.
so I think I think what Zebo's initial thing with that is it's tied into both those things. It's tied into the fact that with the Smokey team, which is like, and this may be not affect a lot of people because people just, at the end of the day, they go, oh, well, I'll just come back tomorrow and get some AFK loot. Like, this doesn't affect everyone. But the issue in that team becomes that it is the third ult. So you're having to manually play with there's so much heavy RNG for the longest period of battle, if that makes sense.
Yes. So you have to wait until the third ultimate every fight. And if you make a mistake manually, you got to retry. So if you do that multiple times, that's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
So I think that's my concern. Like, it's a time part, not the skill part. But I think his
Sure.
skill is really broken
That makes
because
sense.
it takes too much time right now for a game named AFK. So that's the main concern for my
It
point.
is time consuming. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Absolutely.
Yeah. So I don't think it's the manual play, which is what's being seen as the problem. It's that
It's the
like,
length of time.
There's
yeah.
this one comp and it's like a massively slow comp. And for those that are pushing, if another comp was the star comp, and yes, it was a manual play, but like the manual mattered in like the first 10 to 20 seconds, that would be a lot more enjoyable. I think that was the whole thing that Zebo was trying to present there. But what about with the season? With the actual the season systems in, like, when the season started, like my pet peeve with the season was they said it was a 42-day. It was actually a 46-day wait period. I feel like the season fragmenting of a community was very weird. For instance, we have the new boss that's just out today, but it's still not out for a lot of people. what did you guys think about the actual, like, the season start and the general implementation, the power systems starting at level 1, all that sort of stuff, and the whole progression through? We'll start off with you, Rek. Oh, Danger, if you want to start, man, you go.
Yeah, man. No, I loved it. Honestly, I've loved it. The whole thing, I've really been really impressed. When I first heard about it, I don't know what to think. We've seen so many versions of this game. I've been playing this game since April of last year daily. So we've seen so many different versions of it since then. And I was just, I was intrigued, whatever. I didn't know what to think, but I definitely have been surprised at how much I enjoy like, there isn't a major aspect of it. If you look at it in that way, you're talking about like starting at 1, like working your way through everything again. Like it doesn't sound initially like it's gonna be a great idea. Like you're gonna have to do everything again. Like you hear that and you go like, wait, what? But they managed to do that and make it fun for me anyway. I've really enjoyed it. I thought that the story was plenty original enough, and I care about the lore, which we can talk about all day. Anytime any of you guys want, check out my channel. But I think everything from the systems to the lore to, Supreme Arena, right? Supreme Arena is a huge hit. Supreme Arena, where I really enjoy Supreme Arena. There's just so many different things that they've done, and charms. I hear they're gonna add a piece of equipment to the character, and it's gonna do, it's a huge power system. It's like adding engravings basically to AFK Arena, and that I'm enjoying too. I'm enjoying collecting them. I just like all the different, anything you would call like season 1. For the most part, I'm enjoying it. Now I could gripe about all that stuff. Like, I can, Vulcan. I can. But like I can gripe about any one of those things. I got all kinds of them. But I think to answer your question, I've really enjoyed it. What about yourself?
Me personally, like I said, the one thing that frustrated me, because I started my main account late to get on a later server so I could compete better, which worked for that strategy, but the season just absolutely burnt me because I was about 12 days late starting the season. So you're watching everyone else play through this season. I'm playing on other people's accounts, but it's not the same as playing on your own. And it's just, I feel like there's that disconnect, especially when a lot of their marketing is around the season. Then if people see that marketing and they get into the game, then there's like, no, you have to wait 46 days before you can even get a glimpse of this. I feel like there's...
I
feel like that is something when they get into the next season, they have to have a way to have the season implementable for all players on all servers straight away so they can get involved in it.
Yeah.
Whether that means if you're not at a certain level in the main game, whether you get some sort of power deficit, so it is harder for you, but you can still go in there. I don't know what it is, but I think that was one of my big gripes with the season. And the one other thing that, and this kind of compounded, and maybe I'm a little bit jaded from my own personal accounts experience, is that I had 12 days from when the season launched to when mine did, where I had nothing to do in the game essentially. Then when the season launched on my server, I was busy with my other channels and other games, so I didn't get to grind it out for the first 3 days. And if you've, and I put in so much work into my account, and I was sitting in around the top 10 to 15 in bosses. And because I missed out on being 100% active in the first 3 days of the season, it meant I got punted to about top 60 to 80. Because that first 3 days is so important. So in future seasons, and no matter how hard you've grinded, if this system is implemented and you're busy over the first 3 days and you can't invest 8 and you want to compete and you have been competing, but you can't invest 6 to 8 hours a day into the game during those first 3 days because you got life, then all that hard work you
so
put
much
in
sense, man.
goes down to the drain. So that's the one other thing that I think was a little bit... on the negative side. Were you going to chime in there, Rek?
I think so too. Like, the thing is that once the season starts, you really have to grind the story. You have to grind the story as far as you can, because every single enemy you defeat really grants you the training manuals that you need to level up your heroes. So I noticed that too. I had like a few days where I just didn't have time, and suddenly I dropped 30 ranks in Dream Realm, which I thought was like insane. I came from this point outside the season where I was steadily in like my top 10, top 5. And then the season started, and I was dropping towards out of top 100 even, which I thought was like a bit insane from just a few days of progressing story. But yeah, I also really liked what you said about marketing the season. It was something I didn't really think about yet, but it makes totally sense that when the players don't have access to the content that you market and come into the game and see like, well, where is it? That this is like confusing to them. So I mean, like in future seasons, many of the servers will have that issue fixed. But if once they release a new one, I think we're back to that problem. So it's a bit weird. It really is. For me personally, I think the season start was alright. I like that the story was bigger or longer than I thought it would be. That there were a few game modes. The only thing that I'm very concerned about is like more the future aspect, like the looking into the next months, because this season is planned for 4 months, and basically I felt pretty done with it after a month. Well, we still have the mythic charms actually, I think, coming out today or being released today, because I think the server day requirement is reached now on the first servers, which is cool. I'm like to delve into that. But the main part of the content felt done, I think, after 3 weeks, maybe a month. At least for me, that was the case.
Yeah, so I do think, though, we've also got to balance the fact that you don't want to have too much to do. So when the Magic Charms and Jura's Trial first came into it, I was like, it feels like a bit of just another RNG Gamba thing, where if you don't get the right characters, like if as you're progressing through the season, if I don't get Smokey's 3 purple early and someone else does, like they're just going to dominate me. And it felt like it was going to be that bad RNG. But as I've been playing, I've found that I get excited for daily reset to go into Jura's Trial to play that Gamba system. And I know some people may hate that, but like I didn't think it was going to be good, but once it came into it, I have enjoyed it. And I think especially with now that we've got the new Primal Lord open, I feel like little simple things and having the daily mission with old mate Kruger, just those little daily things that at reset you look forward to. I like having a few of those, and I feel like Jura's Trial has actually filled in that spot really well. And I feel like once again, Primal Lord is another good one for it. What's your guys' general feel on that, and like the amount of time required on a daily basis? We'll kick it off with Zebo because you've been quiet for a little bit, man. What do you think?
I mean, I'm just listening to you guys, and I totally agree with all your points.
Classic
because
Zebo. That's classic.
yeah, I just no, because for me, okay, so I'll just say this. I totally agree with you guys. Like the feeling of just testing something new. Like Jura's Trial is like a Gamba system, like you mentioned. So every day you get something new, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I got this, and then I could try this thing out, and I could test whether or not my theory is correct. And that's something to look forward to. So I also agree that the start of the season itself, the pacing was really nice. But like at where I am right now, it's like, okay, what do I do after this? What is gonna come after this? And like every single day, the little bits of things that we are able to get, like the little bits of new things, is what is keeping me going, is what is keeping it interesting for me. So for the earlier, I'll say like the initial part that you mentioned with regards to the gating thing for the different groups of players, I feel that the best solution for that would be for them to just open it up. So if you're faster than everyone else, you just get into the new season as quick as possible. But the pacing of this season itself has been, I'll say, pretty nice. And the release of content itself is also, I'll say, at a good pace. It's just that, okay, what's going to come after this? Other than all the daily farming stuff, other than the Kruger's clan reputation stuff. So that's what I'm actually concerned about for myself.
So
yeah.
with that, because obviously your first thing was the amount of time it takes in AFK stage pushing to actually grind it. Do you actually want a bunch more in the game when you already know that if you're grinding AFK stages, it's already taking so much time? So
okay.
What are you looking for is the kind of the question.
Okay, so my issue is not spending too much time in the game. right? My issue, I mean, for me personally, I have no issue spending 1 to 2 hours, but it could be a problem for other players who maybe don't have that much time. My issue is us spending 1 or 2 hours just doing AFK challenges. So like it's okay to have contents that, you know, you have multiple contents to do and then you just sit down 1 or 2 hours a day to play, but you're doing different stuff. But if you're sitting down 1 or 2 hours a day to just do one specific content, I think that's really, really boring, right? And you are playing it one team. So that's the issue. Like, you are just, okay, how am I going to position this unit so that I get this effect off, you know, kind of thing. And then that's the boring part. Like, I think for me, the fun part has always been just trying new things out, trying different formations, different comms, different units. And then when you restrict that to only like one comm and then one game mode, that really sucks big time. Yeah.
I definitely get that. And I think something that would, like, I still don't know why they haven't done it. Maybe they're not like completely across it, but I've said this several times. I'm like, just give us a roadmap. And when people hear roadmap, they're like, no, I don't want to have timelines on like they never stay to roadmaps, but like, just give us an idea of what a 4-month period of a season entails. Because ever since before the season, we had no idea how it worked. We got in and then we sort of figured it out, but there's been nowhere where they're like, this is what entails the season. And I think,
you know, I was just on that note, I was just playing World of Warcraft seriously again, briefly, just really like right before the launch of this. And Blizzard's doing something like that now, and it caught my eye. I've never seen something written out so nicely, but it laid out like, you know, they're doing the thing now where it's like their class, like World of Warcraft Classic, right, where you can play like from the early stages again. It was laying out where the next stages of Classic were, and it was literally like from here to then is the length of the expansion. Here's when these bosses are coming out. You can expect dungeons every 2.5 weeks. I mean, like, the whole thing was mapped out. It looked really nice. So I've seen it done, and it's a great idea.
Yeah. I think that extra communication level is really nice. Were you going to say something, Rick?
I think so too. Like the roadmap is very important. I saw a lot of players saying like, okay, yeah, there is no content and I don't know what is in the future, so I'm going to quit actually. So I think the way I phrased it was like you make the decision to quit or to continue playing right now with the information you have.
That's a great point.
I think that argues like towards having more information available for the player. I think that is rather important.
Yeah, and I think something else would be fantastic is more preparation on like new characters as well. Like maybe sneak peek new characters 2 weeks before they come.
I think the roadmap idea is it's great. Other than just telling people what's gonna come, right? It also allows people to prepare for specific contents. Like, okay, you tell me like Primal Law is coming in like 1 month. Okay, so I got 1 month to prepare for him. What do I do? So that's something which I think keeps people in the game as well. You know, like I know it's coming, I can prepare for it like with a little bit of time. Yeah, so that's something that
totally
I think the roadmap will help.
Groups. Those are two totally different groups that will greatly benefit from the exact same move on their part. That's like such a great reason to do it too.
Yeah, so roadmap is gonna be very big for the game.
Yeah, You go, Danger.
No, I was just gonna because it appeals. You're appealing to the high end game crowd that wants to know like what am I going to prepare for, as well as the spender crowd, which a lot of that is of course, you know, like in some ways the same crowd, knowing what to prepare for so they can plan like how they're going to do that. And you appeal to the guys that are so casual about it that they may not keep playing unless they know something cool is coming. Like both ends of the spectrum are maintained or done a service to in a big way from the same move on their part. And I'm sure there's other groups as well. And even just having those two big ones is plenty of enough reason for them to take that seriously and make it happen, right?
Yeah, and I think with something,
and they obviously have one too. Just let me just tell you, they obviously have one too, because things are coming out in such a way where it's like you guys knew all this was. I mean, they've got to have some idea, right?
Yeah, and I think, it doesn't have to be this date this is happening, but say like, okay, 4-month period, we've got this month, week 1 of this month, this is what we've got planned. Week 2, we've got this plan. You know, like it can be more vague, or it could be like first half of the month, second, like say like maybe July week 2 or week 1. Oh no, wait, we probably got a new character coming next week. So like week 2 or 3 of June, there is a new character coming. Week whatever of July, maybe there's a new Celestial / Hypergene coming. And so we have knowledge of like the kind of schedule of character releases. This week, maybe there's like a large event, a small event, just so we have an idea. You don't have to tell me exactly what it is, but just so you know stuff's coming. And then with character releases, like Freesto, I think we found out about Freesto like 3 days before he came. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. It might have been less. And they dropped the trailer for him, like, I think it was like 6 or 8 hours before he dropped. I would love to see, like, I hate going back to other games, but like, I think like Hoyoverse and like Honkai Star Rail, it's the other game that I play on my other channel. I think they do a really good job of drip feeding characters and their release, because like 3 weeks before, it might even be longer, they give like put a picture of the characters out, so you know what's coming in that next patch. Then as you get closer, they do the dev live stream where they explain them, which I do think they did a really good job of the dev video where they have what's her face, Dolly and Chippy explaining it. They go through the base character kits. I think they do that really well. I just think timing of all these things, if we get a bit more notice, that would be fantastic. Do you guys agree?
The timing part is really, really off. Like, I mean, like, okay, so let's not talk just about like Hoyoverse or talk about AFK Journey or anything. Like, I think a lot of gacha games I played, if it's a character trailer, it's always like at least 1 week ahead. So it's like, oh yeah, this guy is coming, so this is the trailer for it. Then they will talk about the unit, right? So for Freesto, it's like, here, we're gonna release this unit in 2 days, and then the next day they release the trailer. It's like the order is very, very weird. I just found it very funny. Yeah, like that's just way off in terms of the timing.
And this is something else that I don't think Rek or Zebo, you guys will know, but Danger, you'll be very familiar with this. But AFK Arena and Dislike, both of Little's other games, but I know AFK Arena the most. They have a region, I think it's like Romania, the Romanian version of the game, which anyone can get on if you want to. It's a different version of the game, so you're not playing with the same people, but it's quote-unquote their test server, and basically everything comes there a week early. So even though they don't do like the big trailers and stuff...
I wouldn't call it the Romanian version. It's just the test server, right?
No, it's like a specific region. If you live in that region and you open up your general Google Play Store, that's the one you will get. I can't remember exactly which region it is.
Okay, that's probably how they keep it populated. That makes sense.
Yes, so
I didn't
it does
realize
stay
that.
Populated. Yes, so it's not like an actual test server, but we treat it as we call it the test server because it's a very small region. And
sure.
so with that, I can't remember what region it is, but everything comes there a week early. So it's twofold. One, it's good promotion because then we can make content on it and show people what's coming before it actually comes, and it's a week early, and then people can get ready for everything they get ready for a week early. And then on top of that, if they have any issues in it, the biggest one I remember in AFK Arena was like the first skin they introduced was this Brutus skin, and it had stats on it, and like that happened on the test server. And we're like, ain't no fucking way you're putting stats on skins, boys. And so within the week before it came on to global to piss players off that they've done something like that, it was fixed. And there's been a few things like across the time, I can't name all of them, but where they do adjust things based on that test server. I think that would be another huge implementation if they could do something like that. Do you think?
Actually, they already had it, right?
Yeah, they have a test server. It's called PTR, and then they just stopped giving it to us early.
That's what exactly.
It's literally called PTR. Most people don't even seem to know this, but PTR stands for Public Test Realm. They just forgot about the test part, and now it runs at the same time. It even was running 4 days at least before the rest of things for launch. But now with districts, it's all at the same time.
I think that got super messy because I think in a coding sense, it's on the same version of the game. They needed to leave it as a separate version of the game, but then because they didn't have a region for it, it wouldn't be populated like at all, even though it still isn't because you can't even find those servers. So yeah, I think that was a weird move. I feel like PTR should have stayed as that week ahead server, and it would have been perfectly fine. But I mean, we'll have to wait and see. That, I mean, that's a bit of a nitpick, but it is like honestly, in my opinion, a very important thing for not only...
All they have to do is just delay 4 days. All they'd have to do would just be hold off 4 days of releasing content for everybody one time, and then they would have it forever. It's not hard
I
to
agree with
you know
Danger
what I
on
mean?
this.
Yeah.
I think the problem is updating the client and stuff like that, because they're both tied into one now. I don't know.
No, come on. They can do it if they want.
Yeah, I mean,
Technicals. Come on, Vulcan.
Well, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that is something I would definitely love to see. But I'm not going to get too hung up on that topic now. But I think we can agree, like, some sort of roadmap, a better timing of release of information would be a fantastic thing. Anyone against that, or we all together on that one?
It's a great idea. Yeah.
Totally agree with you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was just making sure I wasn't cutting anyone off from having an opposite opinion on that. The next thing I want to talk about is banner characters in general. Like, how you guys feel about them, what you would like to see from characters, if there's any changes to banners. Touch on the A level banner if you guys want to. I'll start off with you, Rek, because you've been doing all the summoning, man.
Yeah, the thing with the rate ups, and that is something that had people a little bit confused, was that, like, we didn't really get this one hero that was like super powerful, where I made a video and said, like, okay, you have to get this one, guys, because it's like this insane. I was probably for every single one till now, I said, like, okay, well, the new hero is alright. You don't really have to have it at the beginning, but it is good for maybe that aspect, which is, I mean, kind of fine to have balanced heroes. It is not very fun. Sometimes it's fun to just have some mechanic that is a bit stronger than what you already have on the board, or what you already have in the game to get excited about. So I think that was a little bit weird. And I think for a lot of players, it's like the situation where you are in the early game and rate ups or summoning in rate up is inherently a bit worse than all your recruitment. So I think that was already something that was a bit confusing on that part.
Yeah. Zabo?
I totally agree as well. I think they are probably still in the midst of trying to figure out, like, how do I scale the power level of the unit so that it doesn't piece like the masses. Because one issue with introducing a massively overpowered unit is that like free-to-play players, some of them, they will be very particular. Oh no, this game is way too pay to win because we got this character and like it's super expensive, and then they start complaining. But at the same time, when you got no characters that strong, then like the people who are waiting for the strong character is like, so what am I saving for? You know, what am I spending my money on? These units are all trash. You know, what can I do with them? So I think it's okay to have slightly overpowered units. At least I would say it's been like, we have like 4 new units, right? Since Vala. So Florabelle, we have Elsa, we have Soren, and then we have Firesto. I think at least one of them should have been OP. Like that's what I think. Like at least one of them should have been really broken, or have some mechanics that's just like game warping, so that you have some fun element in it. Like it's been 4 banners, and all 4 of them is like,
I haven't spent anything. Yeah, I was saving
like,
this. We were talking about it before. Yeah, Vulcan and I were comparing savings. Yeah, I've got like 108 stellar crystals, and I'm at my pity. And then I have like another 100,000 guild coins saved. And I was so ready for Freyasto, which is why when you guys were saying earlier about how they only released it like a day or you're like less, like in some case, like 8 hours beforehand, the info, like I was all over that because I've been saving so long. I was so excited. And so like that's a universal feeling, man. Like I couldn't believe that they haven't put out a good character. It's been so long, and like you save for that amount of time, and you think that, yeah, it does get frustrating, right? As a player that puts in that amount of time and effort, if there's still nothing, like it starts to, yeah.
Yeah, we
all get it.
And it's kind of an issue in this model of game is that then you save, okay, screw it. Okay, I'm just going to go for this character because they're not going to release a strong character. You spend absolutely everything. You know it's going to take you 4 months to get that saving again. And then the next character they release is the OP one. And then that can just make you absolutely infuriated. And I think that's a weird thing that they... And I don't have a direct solution. A lot of other games where you get viability out of pulling one copy of a character, but it's a really low drop rate. In those games, new characters are always exciting because no matter what, you can put a few summons in and all you have to do is get lucky and get that character once, and then you have it perfectly viable to use on your account. Whereas this game is more, you've got a plan, and then you've got to just cross your fingers when you summon that you're getting the right character, and the next one isn't going to be the one that you should have summoned for. And I don't know how they fix that. And AFK Arena has always been like this as well, and I'm curious to see your thoughts on it, Danger Ray, because I think AFK Arena is a game that's done a good job of, once again, not having power creep on every character, but then you see a character and you're like, okay, that is the character that I should be getting. And
Yeah.
I think the difference is that AFK Arena just has such a large amount of summon income. Now, we do have Awakened Heroes, which become a different thing again. But do you think there's a difference? We can learn something from the way AFK Arena does it that would help the feeling of summoning in Journey?
Ooh, that's a different question. Yeah, I don't know. It's hard. My perspective on it is a little different because as a fully free to play player, I'm so cautious that I end up just getting things, 6 weeks behind everybody, or 2 weeks or 3 weeks, depending how much I've been sit right. But I have to wait to see how something pans out before I can decide that that's going to be worth going for. So in that sense, like it's a slightly different perspective on it, but in what they do, I do think the AFK Arena handles releases. What I can say is I think that the Soren and also releases were handled underwhelmingly. Definitely, it felt underwhelming, and for such a huge character, and they played a big part in the story. I couldn't tell you what exactly, but there's definitely a lot of ways that they did not go about the introduction of those characters in a big enough way as they should have. They could have done a lot of different things with them, for sure.
Yeah, and
I
once
definitely
again,
feel that.
for those watching, like, leave any suggestions you guys have in the comments. I'll be checking the comments because, like, we don't have the answers for everything. Like, and once again, it's annoying being that guy that goes like, I feel like this is an issue, but I don't have a solution or a suggestion.
Sure,
and I hate being that guy, but it's like generally one of those ones because of the formatting of these games with needing so many copies of a character. You can't just get excited for a character, put a few summons in and get lucky and be like, yes, you've got to plan and basically guarantee yourself till pity to get them, and that's sort of where you're at. Like there's no in between there, and I feel like that's sort of where it's at. But moving on from the general banners, I want to hear what you guys think about A-level banners. Do you think A-level banners, like the Soren one we got ongoing at the moment, like how do you feel about that implementation? Because I'm sort of iffy on the whole A-level Raider banner. Rek, once again, we'll start with you, dude, because you're the summoning guy.
I wasn't too concerned about it, to be honest, like, because there are so many A-level heroes in the game that are strong. We have Odie, who probably his biggest hype this season. We have Arden and stuff. We have so many good heroes that I thought, like, okay, I mean, A-level doesn't necessarily mean bad. It's on the same level in that kind of sense as S, but people really didn't like that. People really didn't like, or at least on Reddit I saw it a lot, that they did this A-level summon, or this A-level rate up. And I really wanted to have an S-tier hero there and thought rate up should be for S-tier heroes. Personally, I don't really think so. I'm fine with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I think where the problem with it is, like, I don't see the value, and Danger Gray, because you're a free to play as well, I want to get your thoughts on this one. I don't see the value in going for an A-level character on a rate up banner, because eventually they're just going to go into the shop, and if they're good enough to warrant the investment, then you may as well go and get them in the shop. Because if you pull on a rate up, when you think about getting them to Mythic Plus, is the same amount of summons as getting a S level to Mythic Plus. And when you know that character is going to be in the shop and you can just get them a little bit later by saving those shop, especially once you get your free-to-play account to a stage where you got all the core A levels already built and you are just saving those dude, what is it? Is it Dream Realm?
Dream Realm stock.
I get mixed up between all the boss modes on all the games. Dude.
Hey, it used to be Arena. No,
Yeah, but you save up all those points and you can just basically get them for free anyway. Whereas if you summon on an A level rate up as opposed to an S level rate up, like you don't have that access to those S levels in any way. So I think when I look at, and even when I was on my spending account, I was like, do I spend $300 to finish off Soren, or do I just wait a couple weeks and just pick him up from the shop? So I think that's the weird spot with A-level banners, is that they don't feel like the value, but I also think having them is almost a necessity so that spenders who want to get them built straight away have an avenue to do that.
Yeah, because you guys feel this way because the Dream Realm shop sells all the A-level characters. So that's why, yeah, the implementation is very weird because they could easily just make him an S-level character and it would have probably solved the issue, right? Make it more scarce so that people feel, I'll say, more exclusive getting him. Because the issue from what I hear you guys saying is because he exists, he will come to the Dream Realm store and he's going to be easily accessible. Why would I want to spend my gems or my tickets to get him when he's going to come, right? So they could easily just make him an S-level to solve that issue, to be honest.
Yeah, but on the same level, you don't want to have only S levels coming to the characters, coming to the game, because I think A levels do give that good balance for free to play to have accessibility to the characters. So I think it's more of a question of if A levels banners are more of a luxury thing, then do we run them alongside the S level characters? Or does that become too intensive on spenders who want both? That's where I'm not too sure, because at the moment, if we have A level banners and in general, they're not as good value for free to play players and the general masses, even spenders, when you're trying to save a little bit of cash, is 6, like if we do like S level, A level, is 6 weeks per character too long?
I'll say, here's what I'll say, and I might upset some people by saying this. It's certainly not what you'd expect to hear from a free player, but for a game with so few characters in it right now, they're coming kind of slow. That's what I can say about new characters for me. I think they could speed it up. If you're talking about running them side by side, I hadn't really thought, honestly, on the subject of what exactly you were just saying. Like, it hadn't occurred to me whether or not I get enough. I've been happy with the amount of rate up envelopes that we get from doing various things. You know, like there's been a couple of events now. You get them all over the place. I don't know, but Honor Duel, like if not there, then various, just all over the place. We get rate up envelopes, a few here and there. So like I've felt like I've participated in it. I haven't been saving them. I have been spending them to try and get Soren because it's where he is and I want to use him. And I don't know. It's you have it and they're coming out slow. So I guess there's benefits to it being slow, but I wouldn't feel imposed upon if they were running 2 at the same time right now. No.
Yeah,
but I play a whole lot.
Even maybe have them run for 3 weeks, or like have an overlap on them. So like then the other one start. I don't know. What, you guys got any thoughts, Rek or Zebo?
I might yell about it, but I won't. At the moment, I don't know. I might hate it. I don't know. Yeah.
I think for Honkai they did they run their 5 stars and 4 stars together, right? So I think putting the 2 of them together is viable, but the duration is something to consider as well. Yeah, because like if the banner's too long and then like I don't know whether or not it's something that people want, because like if for example you add the Elsa's duration to the Soren duration, that will be the total banner duration, but you feature both the units. I don't know whether that will work because it's way too long, I think.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on what's perfect in that situation either. It's one of
this is my only gacha. I don't know if you guys all know that, but this is my only experience of gachas ever is AFK Arena and now AFK Journey. I'm still like a gacha virgin or a gacha sophomore now, I guess. So like you guys are talking rate up banners and like what's usual, what's typical. I'm like, I have no experience. Like if I didn't even know what a gacha was, I would just think this is just what happens in Asperia.
And I'd say you thinking the banners are slow would be because every 2 weeks we get a new character in AFK Arena.
Yeah, probably.
So now it's every 3 weeks. But I mean, they did throw in the Freyesto in there, like, you know, in between. So maybe they will chop it up. But once again, this comes back to the whole idea of a roadmap would be really handy for the game to help us understand like, what's coming. Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else specifically you guys wanted to talk about? Stuff you're enjoying, other stuff you think needs work or anything like that in general?
Well, you know, I hate the fact that they just are recasting random voice actors and ruining good pieces of art. But that's all that needs to be said about it. But that's really upset. I'm really upset about some of it, and I know a lot of other people have been bothered by it. It feels like more of the same from a company that we're asking for a roadmap from and stuff. It kind of feels like I don't know. It feels a little bit like pin the tail on the donkey to me sometimes with some of the decisions over there about like they're not sure what to. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know with the whole voice acting thing. Like, it's something that really doesn't stress me too much. Like, I had a video the other day. It was my most disliked video because I went through the voices like as part of it. I'm just like, yeah, I mean, I don't really mind. And the amount of comments about how bad the voice acting actually is, I'm like, oh, dude, I'm a horrible critic at this stuff. I just don't know.
Hey, everybody doesn't need to. That's why there's 4 of us here, right? I represent a portion of the population.
Yeah, voice acting is not something which concerns many people, but I can see the voice acting quality not being, I'll say, like uniform to a certain extent, because I also on my voice acting when I play the game. So yeah, I don't know how to solve that, but I do agree with Danger on that.
Yeah,
I was surprised by how much it was discussed, really. Like, it seemed to me like a pretty minor point, but there were like a lot of people talking about it.
Yeah, and it just comes down to what your focus is. Like, I skip most of the story. Like, I don't sit and go through it. Like, I think that's never my main focus in a game. My main focus is just playing the game, and stories, especially in gacha games, is something I don't focus on. But yeah, I mean, if people like, that's why a lot of people play these games for that sort of story, that social aspect of it, and you know, that definitely has to be a big consideration, which it appears like it is a consideration for them, because they are trying to fix it. It's just like the fixes appear not to be fixes.
It is some of the finest story writing in a game that I've in a fantasy game that I've ever experienced. I think that it really is. The ones from AFK Arena, the basis of Asperia, like the stories here, that's a big reason that a lot of people have stayed with the game, myself included. It's better than average. So then to see them, I think that's why you get these people that are drawn to talk about things like changing the voices and stuff, because the characters are good, so people they get attached to them, right? And they start to like. I'm actually surprised by how many people are in and out of the lore chat all day on the official server. There's a lot of people that like, especially people that are fans of the art too. There's a whole community of artists, right? There's all different kinds of people that'll do drawings of them for fun. There's commission, right? I mean, there's a huge artist community, right? So people really, really engage with these characters on a very next level. A large amount of the community does. So when you go and you change a voice, especially after like, I mean, for some of us, a long time, but for actually the voice have only been in for a little bit before launch. A lot of them weren't voiced before that, but it just, people care, man. They get attached to it and they care.
Yeah, and that perfectly makes sense. Like, I have no issues with that, and I agree. I'm just a horrible critic on that sort of stuff. How about you, Zebo? Right. Anything else you wanna touch on?
Gameplay side, to be honest, I think adding a testing feature would be good. I actually, having like sat through this conversation, I feel that having some sort of testing feature to like to test a new unit out before pulling could sort of like lighten a lot of the issues which we mentioned just now, right? Like your test servers, right? Your testing feature for your gacha characters, or just whatever way we can sort of have our own experience on the character. Because I think for us to sort of make our decisions, we have to have like some experience on it, right? So if we get a character and then we like it, and then we have fun with it, even if the character may not be that good, we won't sort of like regret our investment, because hey, we invested in this character because this character felt good, and it's something that I can live with it. So I think adding a testing feature, be it to the gacha system or maybe like to the game modes or something, or like bossing in general. Okay, for bossing it's probably primal lot, right? Like maybe 1 or 2 additional test runs before we go into actual battle. I think that would definitely be a good addition to the game.
Yeah, so what they have in AFK Arena is really good. They have, when the character comes out, they have what's called the Arena of Trials. They give you some default setups that you can test those characters in. They then have guild trials where you essentially have every character max leveled. Max ascension, max investment, and you can adjust the levels of enemies that you fight against, and you can fully test this character. Like, you do miss out on a few nuances in it, but you basically get to test them at whatever
Hero
deficit
trials,
you want to test
3-day
them out.
tests, 3-day
Yeah,
testers. We
and
need
then
them. We need them.
That's the big one.
Yep.
The big one is that you get a 3-day trial of every new character when they come into the game, and the ascension and investment you get on for them, it depends on the average investment on your account of your other characters. So the idea is that when a new character comes out, you get to test them for 3 days and use them absolutely everywhere, except maybe is it arena? I can't remember. But you get to use them in bosses, you get to use them in campaign and all that stuff, and you get to
You
test
use them in like some arena, not all of it.
yeah. And you get to test them at a similar level of investment to the rest of your account. So you can get an idea for your account how good they would fit into your account. And I think something like that would be, like you said, Zebo, it would be absolutely huge if we could get a feature like that implemented. I think it would be fantastic for, once again, not just the making a decision on pulling a character, but also for general excitement for new characters. Because if a new character's coming, and even if you're not going to pull for it, you get that character for 3 days that maybe might help you or whatever. I think that's like a nice little boost for excitement when we get a new character.
Yeah, totally agree with that. I think it's not just about whether or not the character is good. Sometimes you just want to have a first-hand experience with the character, and who knows, maybe you like how the character looks. You like the animation, or you like the story of the character, for example, or the voice acting of the character. You can just pull for the character, right? It doesn't have to be this character is meta, so I go for it. So getting in that testing feature would definitely help a lot. Like I think it will elevate the whole experience by, I'll say, a huge notch. Yeah.
Yep. How about you, Rec? Any other things you wanted to add in?
For this, I think availability and accessibility of the hero is really, really important for the hype. I play another gacha game where the adding of certain power mechanics has actually resulted in heroes being less available to most players, at least at the max level, and that's just really killed the hype of new releases. So I think it would be great to have them available even as a test for like 3 days.
Yeah,
so I think that's good.
Yeah, and I know what you mean about power creep, because we've seen that in AFK Arena where you went from signature items to furniture to engravings, and in that game it's less about getting the copies of the character. Now it's about having the resources to upgrade them to their full potential to be able to have them at a functional level. And I think that's definitely a thing, and that is one thing that I will say is a positive, where I think in this seasons-based system, if for instance our charms reset, we get new seasonal abilities and stuff like that, I feel like that's a way for them to implement those new systems to give characters different viability without making it like a next level giga grind. Like, I do think obviously we have exclusive equipment. There will be another thing that they will eventually implement that will be like the next resource that you feel starved of all the time, and you need that resource to make a character feel viable. But I'm hoping that that implementation gets slowed down due to the fact that the seasons offers different viability, doorways for characters. Do you guys think that's the kind of implementation that'll happen, or do you think we'll still hit those power group systems really quick?
Not too sure about this, because I think the power creep so far, there's no power creep. So like all the units are not particularly power crept in any way. So don't know whether or not whatever you mentioned will be a major issue, but we have to wait until Talin, I guess.
Seasons help a lot with that, actually, because the charms are here for the season, but then the season will end, and that's a brilliant part. It's in some ways it's like the genius of the season is at the end. It's like a picnic table, like with a picnic blanket on it and a bunch of disposable plates and utensils and stuff. So at the end you can just pile it all up and throw it away, and they don't have to actually have it all stay around and figure out where it all goes anymore. And it's just like it's perfect in a lot of ways. I don't know. There's a lot of things you got to figure out with it though, like, which is where we started with the whole like, and by the way, I didn't have the experience of starting late like you guys were saying, but that makes so much sense that that like I had no idea that was going on, but like that makes so much sense that it's like you're forever behind because of it. And there needs to be a way to deal with a lot of that different aspects of it in order to reap the benefits, I guess.
Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of the season, and I think that's what they were going for, and that is like the overwhelming positive side of the season is that you don't get feature bloat, because you get all these features, then they just go out the door, new season comes in, and then they can have new features which give you a fresh experience that maybe adds new viability to certain. You look at, like, perfect example, Lucius being used in some bosses now is purely down to the fact of his seasonal skill. So, like, maybe next season we get other characters with viability through their skills.
It's so great. It's wonderful. Yeah, it's suddenly, that way characters never always out. It's so much fun that way that Lucius, that we're all using. It really is cool. Like, I have 26 S plus characters and he's not even mythic yet. And he's a huge part of the play this season. And and as a free to play, I'm like, shit, I should have saved more, right? Because, like, I just built Coco and was, doing other stuff with it. And it's awesome that they're able to dig out new parts of the game that we haven't looked at yet, because there's so much good material here that, like, if it's not getting a light shown on it, then you can do that later and it's worth it, which I think it does speak to the quality of the game. But the messy delivery of a lot of it is a huge problem and turnoff, I think, for a lot of people. So, like, that's sort of my summary of where the game is at right now. I think it's a brilliant game that just needs better delivery systems of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and once again, I'm hoping that, like, because this was a new experience for them with the seasons and stuff like that, I'm hoping they've taken some data, taken some feedback, and the next season is going to be a lot, not just smoother, but just feel a lot better. And I think it does come down to, like, yes, there are a few errors and stuff like that, but I think it comes down to better communication is probably the number one thing I would love to see.
Yep.
And then once you have better communication, I think everything can just sort of flow a lot smoother, is the kind of way I think it. What's your... We'll go through the general wrap-up now. Like, Danger Grey, that was a great general wrap-up of your feels of the game. Zebo, we'll jump into you, and then we'll jump into Rec. What's your general roundup of your feeling of the game at the moment to finish it off?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I think that's, to be really honest, I feel that the season itself is, I'll say, like, the general gameplay portion is fine, like the pacing as well as, like, the new features, everything is fine on my end. The communication will be my biggest issue for this season so far, because, like, it's not just about hyping people, it's not just about preparing or anything, it's more like, letting people know what to expect, right, for the whole season, because it's 4 months, and then, like, I'm done in 1 month. What's the 3 months left? That's one thing which they definitely could have done better. And to sort of conclude this, right, since we are talking about the season itself, I think the next make or break point will be what happens at the end of the season, because we are going to get reset on the season itself. So all our effort for the past 4 months will be sort of resetted. So how are they going to compensate for that? How are they going to make sure that this reset thing is not going to anger people? That is probably going to be the next challenge that they got to handle. So we will wait and see what they do about that. But yeah, that for the whole season, pretty okay. But it's just the communication and what to expect portion for me.
Yeah, I think, and just like I'm doing a massive backflip to something I said at the start about how the season, if you weren't available to grind the first 3 days, you get way behind and it just feels bad. There is a flip side to that, where in that every new season is a new opportunity if you fell behind to get back on top. So I do think the season has its negatives and its positives. And I just wanted to bring that up because that's something I just thought about now. Yeah, it's like, okay, I've been behind this season. I mean, next season, I can prepare myself, and I can try and catch up again and get ahead. So I do think there is that caveat there as well. But yeah, that's a pretty good roundup. How about you, Rec? What's your general roundup on feelings of the game at the moment?
Right now, I'm hyped for the mythic charms. Really want to go into that. So that's really for me right now the thing. For the entire season, well, for the first month, I've been very positive about it and liked really the entire story. And what happens in the future, well, we'll have to see about that. Bit concerned about the coming, I think 2 more months we have, or else 3 more months, I'm not quite sure. Bit concerned about that because we know so little about it. But I feel like they will get to the point where they know how to make a season, and I think it will not be a very long time. I think next season will be very, very great. And probably the one after that even better. So I'm kind of hopeful for the long perspective of the game.
Yeah, it's you kind of view it as like a teething issue where it's like, it's the first time, it's just coming in, we're trying to iron out the kinks. I think they've had a shitload of feedback, to put it very briefly, and I think once they collate through all of that and make some adjustments, I think when I look at this as a long-term game, because, I play a lot of games for like a month and then drop them. Like, I look at this like I look at AFK Arena I love the format of these games. I love the IP. They're the kind of games that I want. I do plan to play very long-term for years on years. And I think that's where the promising part of this season is yes, it's had its bumps along the way for the first season, but if we can iron out the kinks, I think it can become a really, really good content flow for the long-term players.
Actually, I got something to add on. So, this links to the very first point I mentioned with regards to the time side. So one thing I really enjoy about AFK Journey, it's there is a phase where you got things to do, but there's also a phase where you don't spend so much time. So I feel that the developers should keep to the identity that you don't force people to spend hours every day to play. It's a AFK journey. There is supposed to be some period where there's nothing to do or just very little things to do, so that we got time to recharge and prepare for the next content to come. So I think they should in fact stick to the identity of just being a little bit relaxed in terms of the content, so that it probably fits to the people that are currently playing, right? Because of the naming itself.
Yeah, and that's something else that I see in every game. Every game, when they're new, you can spend 8 hours a day of engaging content, and there's no way you're ever going to have 8 hours a day of engaging content in a gacha game indefinitely. So I think having a good daily routine is a very important thing, and that's where I think a lot of people's issues right now is we came off that period of the base game where you felt like you're always progressing, always going somewhere. Then you hit a bit of a dry patch. Then the season started. People got super busy again. You had a lot to do. It felt really rewarding to be in the game, but you've got to remember that does lead to burnout if that is every day having to do that. So I do think having a nice clean daily routine that's not too long is actually really good for these games over the long term, but it's that transition from getting through the honeymoon phase of the game to getting into the grind phase that is the thing. But once again, that is where seasons come in, and they offer you that repeat honeymoon phase every 4 months. And I think that is where the magic is going to be, because the game gets to that point where it's just more of an idle game, but then you get that revitalization every season. And I think that's where I hope it has that good feeling as we can continue to go through season after season. But great point, Sebo. Any other final things you guys want to mention before we dip?
You guys are sleeping on battle drills. Everybody's sleeping on battle drills.
I just don't see the value in account progression for it, so I don't do it.
It's so much right. Coming as an MMO player who loves dragon raids, right? I mean, it's the best of both. They're working towards something like that. Like the way that you play with everybody, and you have to have your team and use the right heroes, and you fight the mini bosses and then the boss together, and it's a more rapid fire AE, and it moves quick, and it's well paced. It's just battle drills is already excellent. We haven't even talked about it today, but it's my favorite thing about the season. Battle drills is why I play, and so Season and I we were so much Season of Analytica season, my season. Seasons come and seasons go, but mine's forever. That's our I don't know. It's everything that we thought battle drills could turn into. Seeing the earlier versions, let me just say it real quick. This is the best possible world for where I think they're heading with it. But that actually goes along with what we were just saying, in that it's their freshman run. We have to give them a little bit of space to figure it out like that. I think that is headed in a really great direction too.
Yeah. So for me with that, it's I do it. I don't skip it because you get good rewards getting to level 5. But once you're there, the incentive to compete isn't there. And I think once again that something that could fix this, if they ever implemented, is somehow making guilds cross server, because obviously I started on a late server. I'm not playing with everyone. People leave the game, so guilds start to dwindle down. So the actual community side of guilds is the biggest issue that I think would be impacting battle drills negatively. would be my thought.
Oh yeah,
that's the biggest issue actually. Yeah.
Because like if I could cross server and play with a bunch of my friends who are scattered across servers, like I would get into it, because then you got that bond, and like I know you're in Analytica, which is a server 1 guild. You're heavily competitive. That's your thing. So, but for people who can't find a competitive guild, it's not really as fun. What were you going to say, Rick?
Like for me, it lacks a bit of the, well, that I build towards battle rules. Like it should be a very competitive guild mode, but it kind of runs on the side for me. It's not really something I aim towards or improve my account towards.
Yeah, and once again, it comes down to I think the reward system of it, but it's one of those things with competitive stuff. It's like how much emphasis do you put on the ranking?
Yeah,
rewards,
you do it for the joy of it. The rewards would be nice though. Yeah. It's kind of like whatchamacallit. What's the PvP? Oh, dude, there's so many games at the moment where my head's Honor Duel.
Honor Duel. Like it's like okay, I'll do my how was it 12 losses for
it's
for
now
the, for the
they've toned that down, which is that's a lot more user friendly. It was 15 wins and now it's just 12 participations. I mean that's that's good. But like that game mode is a very interesting game mode, because I speak to people who aren't really stressed about the main game, but they love that mode. Yeah. And anyone who's focused on the main game like hates it, because it's like it's not worth like the investment to do it beyond getting your weeklies done. I really enjoy it. I think it's a really good game mode, but it's slow for a lot of people, you know, and I get that. I get it's a lot more like chess in some ways. But it's like, I don't know, it's like if chess had a little bit of leveling up to it. Like, well, it's like chess and checkers, right? Chess has leveling up, right? Yeah, you level up your rook.
I mean, yeah, like there is that level of it. But yeah, I do think it's a fun mode. I think it's definitely a fun mode, but it's just like, it's you got to be doing it purely for the self-enjoyment.
Oh yeah, no, it's slow.
Yeah,
no, totally. Yeah, if you don't like it, it's probably awful if you don't like it.
All right. Is there anything else that anyone wants to mention before we cut it?
Nope. Nothing on my end.
If you guys are looking for community, make sure you come to the Analytica Discord. It's discord.gg/Analytica.
I'll leave all the links in the description for everyone's everything. That's easy.
Not just me. Zebo's a member too. You'll find Zebo there. He's cool.
I mean, his chippy model is like, I can't help it with Zebo. This whole Discord call, because I've only got like the everyone's icon, just that chippy with the glasses.
We've got the Zebo emojis. That's why you gotta join Analytica Discord. It's for the Zebo emojis. Yeah,
too easy, boys. Well, once again, Danger Grey, Rec, and Zebo, all their links in the description, in the pinned comment. Go show these guys some love, and as always, guys, really appreciate everyone who especially stuck around to this point, listening to us ramble. I really enjoy these types of videos. I love doing collabs like this, having just general conversations. I think it's fantastic. And I'll try and get you boys on again. I don't know how often we'll do this, but I mean, I had fun. Hope you guys did too. And that's it.
Awesome. Thanks, boys.
Okay, bye guys.
Thanks for having me.